Welcome to another edition of Wealthy and Wise. I am your host, Adam Kente, Executive Corporate Analyst here at NCH. And today we put together a really good show. We brought in the master himself, Mr. Court Christie, to talk with us about the three biggest mistakes that business owners make. And Court, NCH is one of the businesses you have. You have founded and run many businesses over the years. Can you give the audience just a little background of the different types of things that you've done and a little bit about how you've been able to manage those businesses having multiple companies?
Well, most of them don't exist anymore, Adam. That's one of the things that makes it really easy to manage multiple businesses is when they don't operate anymore. But, I go back to my early 20s when I started a small copy center from duplication, making copies, and it had like a mailbox place there. And then ultimately moved on and started NCH, was actually my real second business. Spent some crazy time in a vending business for a while. That failed. I'm very happy that it failed. Got into a mattress business, was selling different size mattresses. It was a very simple model. There were only 2 employees, but I did that for about 3 years, and that one kind of ran its course. I wouldn't call it a failure. I think we buttoned that one up because I went on to do other things, which actually was a lot of fun. Got involved in another business, really heavy into representation of individuals against the IRS. So people that had IRS problems, you hear ads like that on the radio and TV right now for somebody that's trying to negotiate out of debt to the IRS. Well, I was doing that 20-some years ago, and that business is no longer around. And I'll actually use that as an example of one of the things we'll be talking about shortly. And then several different digital marketing companies got involved with, and one of them is a light therapy company where we sell different lighting products. It still operates today. And for people that suffer from winter depression and skin conditions like psoriasis or vitamin D deficiency. So these are probably half the businesses that I've been involved with. Only a couple of them still survived.
Excellent. So I step back and I think as most of our clients, whether they're investing in real estate or starting a business of some kind, it's always valuable to learn from other people's mistakes. And having a good mentor and a good coaching program oftentimes can make or break a business, and surrounding yourself with the right people and the right ideas. But I want to talk today about how these mistakes, the 3 top mistakes that you've made over the years, and how that can help our clients become more successful by learning from your mistakes.
Yeah. So we could spend the next 3 hours here now. We don't have time for that today, but I do want to say one thing about, mentoring and education and getting lots of knowledge when you go into businesses. I think the one thing that a lot of business owners overlook are peer groups, people that you can connect with and learn from that are in business. And so in the real estate world, oftentimes you go to educational events, and you can join community groups for real estate investors. I highly recommend that. Having people that you can run deals by and have conversations with that have either been there and done that or just, are new, but they're learning things right along with you. So you share ideas together. And then for business owners, more traditional business owners, there's all sorts of different groups. There's the Young Entrepreneurs Group, there's Vistage, there's CEO groups, there's a group called Tech. There's different groups in different cities that help budding entrepreneurs kind of learn and grow with other entrepreneurs. So that community effort is huge. But let's get back to the question at hand about mistakes because we have plenty. We're going to hit the top 3. The first one is on partnerships. And one of the businesses in particular that I got involved with, I had a partner. And in this case, the partner and I, we had a lot of fun together. And they were very ambitious, and they were all about growing the business. I mean, we were ready to take on the world in our new endeavors, but we had different ideas about how to manage finances and when to spend money and what not to spend money on. And I always lived on a budget when I was young, and I was always investing at a young age. So I would call myself highly fiscally disciplined. And my partner was an incredible salesperson, an incredible marketer, but not financially disciplined. And this created a catastrophe for us working together, because he always wanted to spend money to get in more opportunities and more business, and or have, wonderful steak dinners with fancy bottles of wine on the company credit card. And I was the frugal one trying to make sure that we made a profit at the end of the day and could grow the company sustainably. And our partnership ended up falling apart because we couldn't come to terms on finances, and we had to cut ties and go our separate ways. And I will say that, you've got to find a partner that completes you. As we think about in terms of a significant other, right? You don't want somebody identical to you. You want somebody that completes you. So somebody that can fill in the gaps that you have, but then you have to appreciate the gaps that you maybe don't cover personally that they bring to the table. That's really important. So finding the right partner is so important. And we talk about partnerships and business divorce rates. We know that, divorce rates in real life is what?
50%.
50%. In businesses, I haven't seen data on partnerships, but I generally say to folks, 90% of partnerships fail. Hard to think about when you're choosing a partner.
Well, and our lawyer says the best, the only ship that is sure to sink is the partnership. So one of the things that we try and encourage our clients is to make sure that we have a good business plan in place, but also having a buy, sell, and partnership agreement. We know the divorce is coming, whether it's voluntarily or involuntarily, wanting to make sure that we have a proper legal document. So if you do wake up and want out of the business, or your partner passes away, or something happens, you're not inheriting family members that you really don't want to be in business with. So that's our buy, sell, and the partnership agreement. We always seem to go into business with friends and family members and people we love and trust. And it always seems that there's not making money, there's a problem. Start making a lot of money, another problem. So having a good partnership agreement, detailing roles and responsibilities, who does what if we have to put more money in, covering all the negative scenarios as well as the positive scenarios as well. So I think that's a big one.
It's almost like a prenuptial agreement, right? Yep. And you think of it in terms of marriage, it's like thinking ahead of what happens when we separate, because there's a strong likelihood we're going to separate. So here's how we're going to already identify it. And it's very interesting exercise to do that in advance, but it's important. And so, yeah, everybody should have a buy-sell agreement if you have a partnership.
Good. All right, number two, so number one, bad partners or not the right partners. Yeah. Number two.
Well, this is one that we experience with a lot of our clients, and I've been right there, is just lack of market awareness. And you can say market research or knowledge of what you're getting into. So oftentimes we find people, including me, that get passionate about something and think that thing is going to be the next, takeoff business, and it's going to be incredibly successful. And you find out that, it's not that easy. So, for instance, I'll go back to the vending experience. So I was in my late 20s, decided to make some side money having vending machines. And I went to a franchise expo where they kind of show you different businesses that you can get involved in. And I thought, well, vending seems really easy. I could just, go refill, restock soda machines, candy machines, and gumball machines. I had these giant gumball machines. And it was just such a funny business as I look back on it. But I didn't know anything about the business. I didn't know anything about, the success of whether or not we get enough rotation or usage. And I learned the hard way after spending. I put down $10,000, financed another $10,000 in equipment. So I had $20,000 in vending machines, soda, candy, snacks, and gumball machines. And then I hired a company to help place those. So now you got to find the locations. And so there was a specialty firm that helped find these locations. And they got me into many different locations. But, I think I had about probably 15 different locations that I would go out and service on weekends. And I took my kids, and it was fun, and they enjoyed it, and it was an experience for them. But, you go out and you start doing a round on a weekend, and then you're like, well, wait a minute, this machine only made me $5. oh, this machine made me 20 and another machine made me, $6. And you're going around after a weekend, you're like, okay, I just put all this investment into these machines. I thought that these things were going to be golden. Well, they weren't. And I wasn't making money, And I think the locations were the biggest issue. But finding great locations, every other vending company was right there where you wanted to be. So I was finding very substandard machines. So I did not know what I was getting into. I thought it looked fun. I thought people do buy snacks from vending machines. I was one of them. But it's all about finding the locations where people actually are looking for snacks at that time. And the final finale was, for me, was when I walked into a convenience store and we had placed a large gumball machine. This was a jumbo gumball machine. And I walked in and I was there to service it, take the money out and refill things. And I asked the person behind the counter where the gumball machine was. And they looked at me and I knew this person because I came in every weekend. And they're like, the gumball machine? What do you mean? And I said, yeah, the gumball machine. But that was been here for the last 3 months. And he's like, I don't know. So he gets on the phone, they call the owner. Maybe the owner moved it or didn't want it anymore. Nope, the owner doesn't know either. So lo and behold, somebody walked out with a gumball machine. They literally carried it out. I don't know how they pulled it off. I don't know how no one saw it. Amazing. So I got into something I had no idea about what I was getting into and had a $20,000 lesson in my late 20s.
That hurts. So know your market, know what you're getting into. So oftentimes when people are starting a business and they get the great idea, they really don't have a clue as to these things. And I think the exercise of putting together a business plan can be so valuable. And people hate to spend money on something that is not a thing yet. But I think that's probably the most important first step is doing a business plan to know what is our competition, what is our market going to hold. And once we start, are we going to be able to attract enough customers to make money on whatever investment we may or may not have? So business plans, I think, are important to help with that. So number 3, what is our number 3 top biggest mistakes that business owners make?
Yeah, I think the last one that comes to mind for me and scenarios that both I've seen in other businesses and I personally experienced was, it's sort of like it's double-sided, is a business that grows too fast. And you think, well, what does that mean, a business that grows too fast? Everybody wants a fast-growing business. What a blessing. It'd be fantastic if you can do it. But could you build a business that grows fast and maintain stability and support of your clients or the services that you have? So I started a company, and I mentioned we were in the space of representing people before the IRS. And we spent a lot of money in marketing, and we were quite successful. And it was mostly driven by radio marketing. And plenty of people were looking for ways of reducing their taxes, as well as plenty of people having problems with the IRS or owed the IRS money and wanted a solution to get out of it. So we started our marketing efforts, and it took off. And we figured out our messaging. It was fantastic. We were getting calls. People were signing up for our program. Well, guess what? We didn't have enough people to support all the clients that were coming in. And this is pretty specialized. You're talking about an area where you've got to have somebody with tax experience, somebody with IRS representation experience, and we had several of those around the country that were working with us, but not enough to keep up with the volume. Our caseload got very large, and then we got really backed up. And then what happens then? You get dissatisfied customers, then you start getting complaints and having issues that go along with that. And we learned a very important lesson about, getting ahead and getting outside of our ability to actually do fulfillment, because on the other side of that was a lot of work at trying to identify service providers and then getting that network developed and then trying to juggle the clients that we had sold to keep them happy while we found enough service providers, because we were surprised by our ability to market and sell the services. And so that was one of them where it was a blessing, but also a curse, because it can be a big mistake. And a lot of businesses will go under because they can't get the product or they can't get the service fulfilled, and therefore they create a disaster for themselves.
That's a very good advice. So this week, our top 3 mistakes: 1, be careful of your partners, select the right partners. 2, make sure that you do the market analysis, have a business plan in place. And 3 is we want to make sure that we don't grow too fast careful thought and planning and to be able to support what you have before you start piling on more business, making sure you have obviously a good reputation, good customer base, and good service. So those are absolutely perfect tips for anyone getting started. So thank you so much for joining us today. Have a great rest of your day.